Hi everyone, my name is Melissa and I blog at thedailymail.com, and this is my very first Flosstube video. Kind of hope I'm looking in the right place. I guess I'll find out when I get done with this. I've had my YouTube channel for a number of years, but I have primarily focused on paper crafting. But I am also a cross-stitcher and counted canvas, a variety of needlework. And so I've been watching Flosstube for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years off and on. And I have recently started stitching more regularly again. And so I thought, well, since I have a YouTube channel already, why not segue and start doing some Flosstube videos so that I can share my love of needlework with my subscribers. So that's what this is all about. So a little bit about me. I am 54, soon to be 55. My birthday is in a couple of weeks. And I am originally from Tennessee. I was born and raised there. Lived there until I was in my early 30s. And then just over 22 years ago, I moved to Southern California. And I have been here ever since. And I've got notes here, so pardon me while I look down. By day, I work in IT in the aerospace industry. I am a system administrator and also do some light developing, software developing work for a, how would I describe it? It's a tool that we use internally for tracking service management and the services we provide. And then we also have some other non-IT departments who are starting to use it as well. So the platform is growing. It's mostly JavaScript. And so what developing I do is, generally JavaScript. So that's a little bit about my work. I can't go into too many specific details about it, but that gives you kind of a broad overview. And I have been with my current company the entire 22 years I have been in California. So, family. My family is all back in the South still. I'm the only one out here. My parents and my sister and her children live in the same little tiny town where I grew up. Population, the actual population of the town is probably about 350 people, but if you count the entire county, which they do now because it's a metropolitan area, and if you know anything about Tennessee, you probably know what county I'm talking about. It is not a big city, but it is a metropolitan area. So that's maybe around 2,400 people tops, I would imagine. So the high school I went to served the entire county, and there were 52 people in my graduating class. So as far as other, oh, and then I have a brother as well, not just a sister. My brother and his family live in the greater Huntsville, Alabama area. So then my other family is my best friend and her parents and her family. They all live in Washington State, but we generally get together, maybe once or twice a year. Her parents snowbird not too far from me, about an hour and a half away. So she generally comes down at Christmas and we all spend Christmas together. And this summer, I'm hoping to fly up to spend 4th of July with them in Washington. So, yep. As far as other crafty interests, as I mentioned, I am also a paper crafter. If you look behind me, you'll see lots of paper crafting supplies all over. Stamps over here, inks back here, punches all back here. So more stamps in that cabinet and that cabinet. So, and then along this wall, I've got 3 of these Alex drawer units that hold, smaller things, my embossing powders and things like that. So I do enjoy paper crafting. I did pull out a few cards I've made to give you an example of what I do. I do have a little monitor over here so I can see what's on the camera. I keep looking over here and I think I'm supposed to be looking over here. I'm so sorry. And I probably should not point directly at the camera. So, oops, I'm learning. But anyway, so here's a birthday card I made. I used some embossing paste on this as well as some die cuts. So it's got lots of sparkle on there, and I did some ink blending to achieve this rainbow background that I put the embossing paste over. So that's one. Here's kind of a simple little birthday card I did. I colored the balloons with Copic alcohol markers. If you're familiar with those, they're an artist quality alcohol marker from Japan. I do have the full set of them, so because I love coloring, so that's a little die cut, and I don't know how you can see, but I popped it up to give it some more dimension. Oh, and for anyone who's interested, that's a Lawn Fawn stamp set, if you know anything about paper crafting. Here's another card I made using Lawn Fawn products, and again, I colored these little images with my Copic markers. So I've got a little flan and a s'more there. Have a flantastic birthday. Super cute. Here's another one. This is just a nice little general hello card done with die cuts. And then this was done with a turnabout stamp set from Concord and 9th that I used to create the polka dot background. If you didn't have that stamp set, you could certainly just use some patterned paper there and get a similar look. Just use a polka dot paper. And then here's another one where I did some ink blending and some Copic coloring. So this little strip here is done with the ink blending, and then the elephant and the mouse are colored with Copic markers. And then just used a little die cut along the edge for a little extra interest. So that's a few of my cards I've made. So it just gives you kind of an idea of what I do with those. And again, I keep looking over there. I'm really sorry. I will learn to look over here, which I hope is the right place. Stitching history. I started doing embroidery when I was about 8 years old. My grandmother taught me. She was very much an avid needleworker. She did embroidery, she did plastic canvas. She never really cross-stitched, but she did crewel work. She was a quilter. She made gorgeous quilts. In fact, she passed away when she was 96, and the day she died, she was quilting that morning, and then, you know, later that afternoon laid down and just kind of peacefully passed. So, I mean, I can't think of maybe a better way to go if you have to go, you know, doing the things you love and then just, you know, drift off, and that's that. So, but yeah, she was always, and you know, I grew up in the South, as I mentioned, and so they had one of the old pulley systems that dropped down. You could crank it down from the ceiling for your quilting frame, and so she did all of her, a lot of her quilting there, and was a hand quilter. She did use her sewing machine for piecing. She had a Singer treadle sewing machine, and so she did that for her piecing, but she predominantly hand quilted everything, and then she would use her machine for help doing some of the binding. I'm not a quilter, so I hope I'm getting these terms right. I am kind of working from memory from watching her and my mom quilt, you know, when I was growing up. So for my 2019 stitching goals, I do have a couple of things that I'm working on. One of them is I'm a part of the Stitch from Stash group on Facebook. For those of you who are not familiar with that group, it just means that you set yourself a monthly budget for how much you are willing to spend. And for me, even though it's called Stitch from Stash, I have set myself a monthly budget of $25 because while I do want to stitch my stash, and I've got quite a number of things, you know, kitted up already, not counting my WIPs, I don't want to stop supporting my local shops either. Or online, my favorite online stores either, because I recognize that if we don't support our shops, we won't have our shops. So $25 is a moderate amount that I can spend, you know, to still support the shops, but still not just go crazy spending either. You do get credits for finishes. So I have had 3 finishes already this year, which I'll show you here in just a minute. And so I got $20 finishing credit in January for those 3 finishes. So that left me with a balance in January of $45. But I did spend some money. I bought a Frida Kahlo needle minder from Mad for Minders on Etsy, and that was $3. So that left me with a balance of $42, which rolled into February, and I got another $25 added to my balance in February. It's not a use it or lose it. Anything you don't use on any given month, you can roll it over. So I did roll that over, so that gave me $67, and then I've got some birthday money that's going in for February, so it'll actually give me a nice little bump. So, but I don't think I'm going to spend it all, even though it's my birthday. I think I'm going to save some of it, because it doesn't make sense to spend a ton of money in February on cross-stitch charts or things, since market is going to be that first week of February in Nashville, and so that'll give me a chance to buy some market stuff with my birthday money. So I am also loosely working a rotation. I shouldn't say loosely, it's a pretty set rotation. And I'll talk about the various pieces I'm focusing on when I go through my WIPs here in a minute. But what I'm doing is, because I'm also a member of the School of Magical Stitches and Literature, which if you watch Flosstube, I know you've heard about already. That's another Facebook group, and it's a reading and stitching challenge group that's kind of focused on Harry Potter themes, which I love the Harry Potter movies. But I've never read the books, so this is, you know, my intro to reading the books as I'm doing my stitching, you know, going through these various processes. So initially my plan was to spend 7 days, a full week, on each of my rotation pieces. And then after I heard about the School of Magical Stitches and Literature, I modified that slightly. And so now I'm doing my rotation Monday through Friday on a specific piece. And then on the weekends, I am doing my magical stitches homework assignments and extra credit assignments. So that's kind of where things are going right now with that. So for my 2019 finishes, this one is kind of, the first one I'm going to show you is kind of a combination finish and WIP. I'll try and get this folded up. I'm really trying to finish getting this recorded before I lose my light. I'm using natural light, so I hope you guys will be able to see these things okay. This is the Glitter Village series by Country Cottage Needleworks. This is house 1, which is the blue house over here, and house 2 is the little pink house. And I stitched these with the recommended fibers, and it's on 32 count natural and silver linen. So even though I'm stitching these all as one big piece, so it's kind of a WIP, I'm counting each little house as a finish, since I have just chosen to stitch all 9 designs on a single piece of fabric. So I get $5 credit for each one of these that I finish. So, and what I'm doing is I started this January 1st, and I'm stitching 1 house per month. And this is my first week of the month project. And so I already had houses 1 and 2 as of January 1st. And they stitched up so quickly, I actually stitched both that first week of January. There was a glitch with my auto ship, so I don't have house 3 or 4 yet, but they're en route to me now. So since my plan had initially been to stitch 1 a month, I'm just taking this first week of February and stitching on some other, I've just kind of made it like a stitcher's choice week. So I'm working on whatever I want this week. And then I will pick back up with Glitter Village the first week of March and do house 3 in March. Okay, and then my second finish, this was also started in January. This is the, so I'm going to back up a little bit so it'll all fit. The Seasonal Celebrations Winter by Country Cottage Needleworks as well. And it is stitched on the recommended fabric, which is a 32 count Star Sapphire linen. And I used all the recommended fibers with the exception of I did make one little substitution. The chart called for stitching the smoke from the chimney in white, but I kind of wanted it to stand out a little bit more from the snowflakes, so I substituted and did mine in 645, I think it was. One of the beaver grays. I think it's 645, DMC. So that is that one. And I did that one as part of a stitch along in the Little House and Country Cottage Needleworkers group on Facebook. Vanna, and I think maybe one of the other admins as well, both put this together. So it was a January and February stitch along, but I finished that in, I think maybe 4 or 5 days of stitching. Well, here, hang on. I have a spreadsheet of my, oh, but my finishes aren't on this. This is just my WIPs. I show what date I started it, the date I last stitched on it, so I can keep up with that, what fabric I'm using and what fibers I'm using, as well as the design and the designer. So you just got a sneak peek at all my WIPs coming up. So anyway, so those were my finishes so far for 2019. I've just got the 3 so far. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a lot of, well, I don't know, lot is a subjective term, I suppose. I've got quite a few fully kitted projects. I've got, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20. And so what I thought I would do is, rather than go through all those in this video, I thought I might save that for one of my upcoming, you know, like Flosstube 2, 3, 4, whatever. And instead of doing a WIP parade, which I'm going to go through all my WIPs in this video, I would do a fully kitted parade and show you all the various projects I have fully kitted that will start making their way into my rotation as I finish some of my current WIPs. So, segue to WIPs. So this first one I'm going to share is actually my oldest WIP. And this one is 12 years old. This is Taj Mahal Mandala by Chatelaine Designs. And I started this January 1st, 2007. It's being stitched on what at the time was the recommended fabric. Unfortunately, this fabric has now been discontinued. So I think now the recommended fabric that comes with, this was the kit from European Cross Stitch. It was gifted to me by a very dear friend of mine whose parents immigrated from India. I almost said Italy. No, India. And he knew I loved this one. So he got it for me in 2006 for Christmas. And so this is 32 count Ray of Light linen, which again, unfortunately has been discontinued. It's a beautiful pale yellow fabric. I think you can actually see it better there than you can when I go in close. When I go in close, you kind of lose the yellow. So, but I think it comes, I looked on Cindy's website, European Cross Stitch, I think that's her name, Cindy. And I think she has antique white with it now, I think, which would still be gorgeous, but I really love this yellow. So that is Taj Mahal Mandala. My next one, and let me pull in my spreadsheet so I can get dates. Sadly, I started this one in 2008, and it has been almost finished for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. You're probably going to want to cry, just like I do every time I look at it, when you see how close to being finished I am, and I haven't finished it yet. This is the Halloween Fairy from Nora Corbett. And the fabric was I can't remember now what they called them. It was one of the silk weaver. It was like in a mystery bag, you know, of fabrics. From looking on their website, I think my best guess is it's probably blueberry, but I don't know that for sure. It's 32 count. And all I really have left to do is finishing this little swirly bit at the bottom and beading it, and she's done. I did rechart her skin and did it over 1. Oh, and I have a little bit to do on the owl. His ears may be beads. I don't remember, but clearly he needs ears. So, but yeah, she's really close to being done. I just need to do it. So, okay, my next one, this one was, oh, I'm sorry. My next one is a counted canvas project, which I started. This was part of a class I took in 2009, and I had lost my chart for it. And so I had not worked on it in a long time and then lost the chart. And fortunately for me, the teacher of the class is a local designer and instructor. And she runs a local stitching group, a monthly stitching group that I have started going back to again. And she graciously gave me another copy of the chart since obviously she knew I had taken the class. So I'm finally able to start working on this again. This is called Plum Blossom Kimono. And again, this is counted canvas. So the kimono itself is completely filled in already. So I'm good to go with that. Now I just have to fill in and all the boxes. And it's kind of like basically a stitch sampler. You know, all the little boxes have different types of stitches in them. And her version, and I'm using my own colorway. Hers was all in purples. But my living room has green furniture, sage green furniture. So I picked my own colors to try and have it match my decor a little bit better. And she didn't have any metallics in hers, but I introduced some metallics in mine on some of the blocks just to give it a little bit of sparkle. So that is Plum Blossom Kimono. And this is on 24 count Congress cloth. So. Next up is another Mirabilia. I've got, I think, 3 in my current WIPs. I have 10 WIPs, by the way, so this isn't going to go on forever. Don't worry about that. This is Royal Holiday, or the Christmas Queen, as I've heard some people refer to her. And I am stitching her on 32 count conifer from Picture This Plus Fabrics. So I am getting pretty close to getting the skirt done, and then I'll move on and start doing her upper body. But yeah, and she is one of my focuses this year, so I stitch on her the 3rd week of the month. So, and I did it again. I looked the wrong way. I will try my best to get better at this, guys. With my paper crafting videos, it's always overhead shots. You never see my face. So actually having to look into the camera is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Okay, the next one is another Mirabilia. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, Royal Holiday, I started her in 2012. So the next one is Siren in the Shipwreck, which is also Mirabilia, and I started this one in 2013. And I've got, there's my new Frida Kahlo needle minder I bought last month and used some of my stitching budget on. She's so cute. Anyway, so this is Siren in the Shipwreck. So I've got her upper body and most of the main part of her tail done. I need to finish the dorsal fin and then the caudal fin at the bottom. And then it's pretty much going to be, well, I've got to do, she's holding a big chandelier right here. And there is some stitching with that, but it's mostly a lot of beads. There's a ton of beading on this project. So, but I think she's going to be gorgeous. All these little spots in the tail that aren't filled in, those are all going to be beads. So, I don't remember what this fabric is. I know it's from Fabrics by Stephanie, but I don't remember the color. I think it's a color that she doesn't offer anymore because, again, I started this in 2013. And it's a weird cut of fabric, so I think this may be one of her odd cuts I bought back when, I don't know if she still offers those odd cuts for sale or not, but I'm pretty sure that's when I got that. And it's an even weave. I'm not sure. It kind of feels like Jaslyn. I do have a few 32 count Jaslyn pieces from her. It was before Zweigert discontinued the 32 count Jaslyn. If it's not Jaslyn, it's Jobelin. So, okay. Oh yeah, I do have on my notes it's a 32 count Jaslyn. So, and I was so sad when Zweigert discontinued 32 count Jaslyn because Jaslyn is absolutely my favorite fabric to stitch on. So, next, oh, another Mirabilia. This is the Thanksgiving Harvest Fairy. These were some limited edition kits she had a number of years ago. I started this one in 2016, and I had just her skirt done prior to this year. So I've done all of this in January, this upper half. Everything from the swag up was done in January. This is on 32 count natural linen, which was in the kit. And the fibers are all Crescent colors, which are also now discontinued, but they were what came in the kit at the time. So that's what I'm using. But on any of those, you could get probably a comparable Classic Colorworks, which I think they have all the dye recipes from Crescent. I think they got those. Next up is from Heartstring Samplery. This is Coffee Quaker, which I'm still kind of on the fence about this one. I am not using the recommended fibers, the charted fibers. I'm using the Victoria Motto sampler threads, and I'm just not sure I'm loving the colors together. I love the threads. I absolutely love the Victorian Motto threads. I'm just not sure I like these colors on this fabric. This is a 32 count Jaslyn again, which means I likely got it from Stephanie. I think she's the only person I ever got hand-dyed 32 count Jaslyn fabrics from. But I have no idea what color it is. It's not labeled, so. But I'm sticking with it for now to see how I like it. If I end up deciding I don't like it at all, then I will frog everything I have done, and I will do it in the recommended fibers. So, I don't remember if I started that in 2016. If you follow me on Instagram, you have probably seen this next piece because I have been posting about it a lot lately because it is one I have been able to use quite a bit for my School of Magical Stitches homework and extra credit assignments. This is Halloween Cat by Satsuma Street. And this is also stitched on a 32 count Jaslyn. This is Twilight from Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, which I think this is a discontinued color. I don't think she has Twilight in her line anymore, but it is gorgeous. I call it blurple because it's not really blue, but it's not really purple. It's kind of in the middle. So I absolutely love that. And I'm kind of hoping to finish this one because, as I mentioned, I don't have House 3 yet for Glitter Village, which normally this first week of the month would be my Glitter Village time for stitching. So I'm just going to focus on this piece as much as I can this week and maybe get it done. So this is one I started February of 2018. So it's actually only a year old as far as a WIP goes, but it's a really fun stitch and I'm kind of just enjoying working on this Jaslyn and I kind of just want to finish it. So, and then my next one, this is another Satsuma Street pattern. This was the spring stitch along that Satsuma Street did with So and So in the UK last spring. So this one I started in March of 2018. And this is the Cool colorway that she offered it in Cool, which is the blues and teals and greens. But then she also had the exact same chart in a Warm colorway, which was oranges and yellows and reds and corals and that sort of thing. So that again, oh, and I'm stitching this on 32 count Antique White Jobelin. So I do have one other, my 10th WIP. Unfortunately, I cannot show that one to you. It is a gift I am stitching for a friend of mine, and I'm not sure if she watches my YouTube channel or not. So just to be safe, I am not going to show it. And unfortunately, you probably won't be able to see it for almost a year because it is a Christmas gift that I'm going to be giving her. So I will share it as soon as I can. So, okay, back to my notes. As I mentioned, I've got quite a few fully kitted projects. I do hope to do a video on those. I know that the Know Your Needleworker tag is also very popular, so that's another video that I hope to do soon. I should, in these next few videos, I should have some haul to share. The only haul I had I could share right now was my needle minder, the Frida Kahlo needle minder that I mentioned earlier. That's the only thing I bought in January, with the exception of I'm in the Crazy Annie Coloring Cotton Floss of the Month Club, and I did get the January flosses, but I know everybody who's in that club has shown them on their floss tube already, so I am not going to show those. I should hopefully have the February shipment arriving hopefully later this week or the first part of next week. I mean, it's already been shipped, so I will wait and show the February one when those come in. So shout outs. I thought I would, since this is my first Flosstube video, I thought I would give a shout out to some of the channels I watch the most often, or some of my favorite Flosstubers. I hate to say that because there's so many that I enjoy, and it's kind of like, I mean, I don't have children, but I think of it as like, you know, naming your favorite Flosstuber is kind of like if you're a mother trying to name your favorite child. So, but I do have some that, you know, if I'm pressed for time and can't watch them all, these are some of the ones that I make sure I watch, you know, kind of thing. So the first one is everyone else's favorite too, I'm sure, which is Pam and Steph from Just Keep Stitching. I absolutely love their videos. I actually discovered them maybe 2 months ago, maybe a little more. I can't remember if it was like Thanksgiving time or Christmas time when I discovered them, but it was sometime over the holiday period, one of those two holidays. And I kind of picked up from that point. It must have been right after Thanksgiving, because I do remember like the second or third video I watched was where they did their ornament parade, where they showed off all the ornaments they had made last year and had finished for their tree. So I would imagine it must have been early December-ish time, late November, early December when I discovered them. So thoroughly enjoy watching their channel. They crack me up. They're hilarious. And it makes me almost wish I lived in the Cincinnati, Ohio area just so I could go and stitch with them. So another channel that I thoroughly enjoy is Debbie and Kef from Snug Harbor Crafts. Don't know why I had to look for that. I should certainly have remembered Snug Harbor. Again, just a fantastic mother-daughter duo. The interaction between them is amazing. I'm not one of those people who has a super close relationship with my mom, so I always I'm kind of a little jealous when I see people who do have that super close, you know, like I can never imagine doing a video with my mom. I just couldn't, you know, so I really enjoy watching their interactions. So as someone who is not blessed with that type of relationship, I enjoy watching theirs. So the next one I want to give a shout out to is actually a very long time friend of mine whom I do know in person. And that is Annette from Annette's Acre. And she has been doing Flosstube videos for a few years now. So we met years and years and years ago. I was trying to remember the other day when was the first time we probably met. And I think it may have been on the Teresa Winsler bulletin board system. I think it was on Easy Board, which then became Yuku, which then became lately Tapatalk, I think. Although I don't think the boards, I'm not active on them anymore. But we were on several of the boards together back in the day. That one and Rotation Stitchers. And I know I was on the Mirabilia board. I don't know if she was or not. But we've known each other online for a long time. And then finally met in person several years ago. And have, you know, had the opportunity to see each other a few times over the years. So, and just love her to death. And I always enjoy, you know, watching her video and hearing that soft guitar music in the background, courtesy of her husband. So I definitely want to give her a shout out. Excuse me, drink of water. Talking for this long will dry your mouth out. The next one is another person, again, I've known her for a long time online. Unfortunately, we've never had the chance to meet in person, but that is Abby from Abby Bella Stitch. And again, we go way back years on the old message board system. And always enjoy watching her videos, seeing what color her hair is in the latest one. And she just has beautiful projects. Ooh. Sorry about that. The next one is, and I don't remember exactly when I discovered her. I think it was probably after the first of the year, but that is Michelle Bendy Stitchy. And really, really love the work she does. Not just her stitching work, but the charity work that she does. I am a huge proponent of giving back charitably. And so to see her put together these auctions and the money she's raising, I am just so impressed with that. And I think it's awesome. So keep up the great work, Michelle. One of my favorite designers who I watch on Flosstube is, of course, Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design. I have been a fan of Kathy's designs for a long time, you know, back even in the Cherrywood Studios, Cherrywood something, where she had the whole, well, her and her partner had the whole series of the stitching definition charts and stuff. So thoroughly enjoyed her design style for a lot of years, and have loved all the chalkboard series that she's been doing. So she's definitely one of my favorite designers to watch. Oh, and another one which I don't have on my list, but I don't want to leave out from the designer category would be Teresa Vanette from xstitcher. Another person who I used to shop from her all the time back in the day when she had Shakespeare's Peddler. She was my go-to person for Lakeside Linen back in the day. And so I'm now starting to shop with her on xstitcher. So definitely want to include her. Another mother-daughter duo who are fairly new to the Flosstube community that I enjoy watching are Casey and Dara from Southern California Stitching. And so also being from Southern California, I definitely, you know, wanted to check them out. There's a fairly good stitching community in the part of Southern California where I live. There, I mean, we're not like neighbors. They live a fair distance from me, but I also work in a government space sector kind of job, much like Casey does. And so we have, I just find her interesting because we have a lot in common. So definitely enjoy them. And then another person who I have watched for quite some time, off and on, oh gosh, I don't know, for at least a couple of years, is Caroline from Off the Grid Needleworks. I don't participate in the Off the Grid Facebook group, but I always watch her Off the Grid video on Fridays, and I do stitch every Friday night. So she's definitely another one that I enjoy. Not just her Off the Grid Stitch With Me's on Friday, but then her regular floss tubes as well, which I think they're on Mondays if memory serves. So anyway, I can't believe I've talked this long. I told my best friend when she kind of encouraged me to start a floss tube, I said, gosh, I don't know what I'll talk about. I'll never be able to talk more than probably 5 or 6 minutes. I don't know how these people do these 30 and 40-minute videos, and I see I'm at 40 minutes almost. So anyway, so kind of wrapping things up. I am on social media. I think I mentioned at the top of this video, I do have a blog. It's thedailymail.com. That's THEDAILYMEL.com. Which is kind of, because my name's Melissa and a lot of my friends call me Mel. So it's kind of a play on the British, you know, tabloid newspaper, the Daily Mail, M-A-I-L, but I do it M-E-L. So that's where the name came from, if you're wondering. I am also the Daily Mail on Instagram, so you can find me there. I am trying to follow, you know, a lot of the Flosstubers that I'm subscribed to who have links to their social media and Instagram and stuff. I do have links to mine on my channel page, so, but I'll include them in the description box below as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about is like my planned posting schedule. I don't know that I will post every week. I'm thinking maybe to start, I'll shoot for every other week and see how it goes. If I find, you know, I'm enjoying them, and if you guys are enjoying them, then I could potentially bump it up and do them once a week. So, and I'm recording this one on a Tuesday after work. My goal, though, is probably going to be to record them on Saturdays, just because I have a little more flexibility in my schedule that way, or maybe even a Friday. I do have every other Friday off, so it could be a Friday as well that I record them. So, but just, you know, kind of keep watching, you know, be on the watch out. So, you know, subscribe and click the little notification bell since, you know, until I figure out exactly what my posting schedule is going to be. Right now, my plans are to have my second video up next Friday. So about 10 days from now, which that will be my Friday off. So I'm thinking if I do them on Fridays, on my Fridays off, that will get me to that schedule, even though I'm filming this one on a Tuesday. So anyway. So I really hope you enjoy this. I'm a little nervous doing my first floss tube. This is like my first ever time with my face on my YouTube channel. So for those of you who are my paper crafting subscribers, I will still post paper crafting videos from time to time. I'll try and always clearly label things, whether it's a floss tube video or a paper crafting card making video. So that way, you know, if you're not interested in my stitching adventures, you don't have to watch those. Or for my stitching subscribers, if you're not interested in my card making adventures, you don't have to watch those. So I will try and make sure to always label everything so that you'll know exactly what it is. So okay, that's it. Floss tube number 1 is under my belt. Woohoo! So thanks so much for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications whenever I post a new video. And I will hopefully see you guys again in about 10 days for floss tube number 2. All right. And maybe by then I will have figured out that I need to look at this side of the camera. All right, guys. Bye.